All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. I want to do some quick thoughts on some things that I hate about IDPA. And before we get started, I really do enjoy IDPA. I think it's great for the shooting community. I think there's so many things about it that I like personally. The fact that they want to focus a competition around the concealed carrier and kind of gearing that competition toward a concealed carrying person, which is kind of like a good way to train your weapons manipulation and your speed under pressure with people watching you, with your adrenaline going a little bit. And it's a good way to test your skills and grow in your skills of weapon manipulations and certain basic tactics, let's say, as well. So I think IDPA is a great thing. But I just want to list some things that I dislike about the sport for several reasons, and we'll talk about the pros and cons of maybe the ones that I might see some pros to the way the rules are written. But the rules in general and kind of some of the stage setups and stuff, I just want to mention some things I dislike about IDPA. So the first thing being is the magazine capacity. Those of you that are in IDPA, you understand that you're limited in your capacity mostly to 10 rounds, but a lot of guns are limited to less and some to more. And I kind of dislike this. I think as long as the gun can fit in the box, uh, I don't think you should be able to bring any gun of any size because it's obviously geared toward concealed carry. But if it meets the weight and it meets the size requirements to fit in the box, no matter what that gun is loaded to, it should be able to be shot in that configuration. That's just my opinion. Uh, so I do dislike the fact that they're constantly limiting you on the amount of rounds that you can carry. And I just don't think I think it's silly. I think it's silly that the stock service pistol gets to carry more rounds in the magazine, 15 rounds instead of 10. It's your enhanced service pistol, which should be more enhanced, therefore should be able to carry more rounds, carries 10, and your stock service pistol carries 15. That makes no sense to me. I don't know why you would do 10 for the enhanced pistol and then 15 for the stock pistol. I don't understand. Carry optics is the same way. Carry optics is an enhanced service pistol or concealed carry pistol. You should be able to carry not just 15, but the maximum amount of rounds that you can carry that fit in the box. That's just my opinion. Make the game a lot funner and less to worry about. It would just make it more realistic to your real concealed carry, the way you would really do it in real life. You're not going to download your pistol when you go and you do church security or when you're walking through the mall and you're wanting to keep your family safe in case something happens in the parking lot. You're not going to download your weapon to a lower amount of rounds. I think that's silly. I think it needs to be done away with. That's a thing of the past. Um, I understand the reasons why they did it to a certain extent. One, I guess, so you could learn to do more weapon manipulations when it comes to mag changes. I do understand that, but you could still have stages set up to download to a certain number just so that you get more practice with that. But you're allowing the stock service guys, pistol guys, to sometimes shoot a whole stage, without reloading. You're allowing the pistol caliber carbine, which already has an advantage in accuracy, to shoot the whole stages without a lot of stages without any kind of mag changes. So it doesn't make sense because most of us guys, we rate ourselves based off the overall score we got per match. We don't go in our division, at least I don't. I like to rate myself against the whole overall score. I don't like to go into my division and rate myself against other people in that division. I know that may be different for some people, but for me, I like seeing my overall score being good, not my division score. So I do wish they would change that. I understand they want people to be forced into doing mag changes quite often, and that's fine, and we can do that occasionally, but I think based off your gun, if you're carrying a big gun that holds a lot, then you should be able to shoot. If it fits in the box, you should be able to shoot that gun at its capacity because that's what you're going to do in real life. Makes no sense to change it from what you would do in real life. Um, that I guess leads me on to the next thing, as there's several things I'm trying to think about that I would, the system as a whole, or the IDPA as a whole, I've noticed in our local matches, it's gotten to where people that are designing our stages and making our stages are trying their best to play mind games with the stages and do things that are confusing or hard and that you have to think about, and you kind of lose the fun of IDPA. I get it that you're going to have to think in real time in a gunfight, and there's going to be certain scenarios where you're having to think about what you're doing, but that's not what IDPA is anyway. People already have the plan, they already have the stage set up in front of them, they already get to see it. So the people that tend to already have experience in IDPA for years have a major advantage when you're wanting to play mind games all the time. Or the people who come to the match and haven't done nothing all week, uh, don't have no kids, they have a major advantage because they can study and think about the stages that they've seen a week ahead of time, and they can plan for it accordingly, and they have an advantage. And I dislike that. I want you to be able to go in and be simplistic enough to where you can, in 3 or 4 minutes, have a plan for that stage. You shouldn't have to plan for 30 minutes to figure out the best way to shoot a stage. And that's a major disadvantage to people that have families and have kids and have a lot of things they're thinking about when they're going and just trying to have fun at the competition. I dislike it when they want to make the stages so complicated. I think they should be set up more realistically. And also, let's just put it this way: when they make it complicated, it's usually very unrealistic scenarios. The more complicated they make it, the more crazy it doesn't really relate to real life, and that's kind of ruins the fun of it too. So don't go too crazy with your stage setups and IDPA, and I think it ends up being a lot better. Set it up for people to run fast and feel good about themselves. Don't set it up for failure. You know, I don't care if there's 1 or 2 stages per match that are set up to be a little bit more difficult, but when you're setting up 5 out of 6 stages for the match, very complicated, and playing mind games with people, it gets old and it kind of ruins the day of a lot of people. And I see that at our local matches lately, so I dislike that too. Have 1 or 2 complicated stages, and then the rest, let's have them fun, fast, more realistic in nature of how you might run into something in real life, and more realistic scenarios, not something goofy or silly or whatever. So the other thing I hate about IDPA is, let's just put it this way, I hate the fact that you can't drop a loaded mag on the ground. In a realistic defensive gunfight, I'm never going to be doing tactical reloads. Not a regular civilian. This IDPA is geared for mostly for regular civilians. I get it, some police officers, some special forces may come to IDPA and shoot. But in real life, I'm not going to worry about keeping a magazine if I feel like I need to get another mag in my gun as fast as possible, and I've got a full mag, and I know I've used a few rounds in my one mag. I'm going to leave that other one lying on the ground, even if it's got 4 or 5 bullets in it. Don't penalize me for dropping a mag on the ground. I feel like that's unrealistic. It doesn't make any sense for common civilians to have to think about stuff like that. I think it's silly. You should be able to drop the mag wherever you want to. Maybe not, maybe keep the rule where you can't drop the mag when you're engaging active targets, but behind cover, you should be able to drop the mag whenever you want to. Let's just put it that way. I think that makes a lot more sense. So that's another thing I dislike about IDPA. I think it's silly that you can't do that. Now, when it comes to slicing the pie, which means you shoot the first target you see around a barrier, I don't really disagree with having that in the rules. I know that USPSA, I don't think, has that rule. You can engage any target that you see first, and any target that's in the open, you can engage, or that you see, you can engage without no kind of penalty. I don't mind the slicing the pie penalty because it does teach you proper concealed carry tactics, and so that makes sense to me. The tactical priority, so targets closer to farther makes sense to me. I don't mind those penalties so much. So that's not something that really bothers me. I kind of understand that. But yeah, the whole mag change thing, the whole dropping a mag with one round in it is a penalty. I think that's silly. I think that's goofy. It shouldn't be the case. But I just want to kind of share some thoughts on that. Guys, let me know what you think. If you shoot IDPA, what do you think should change and shouldn't change about IDPA? There's other things, but I can't really think of them right now that I would probably dislike about IDPA. But as a whole, it's awesome. Can't get better training for the price in weapons manipulation. Is this training, is IDPA really safety training or situational training when it comes to real life stuff? You know, people will say it's not really good for scenario training in real life because there's so many weird stuff that they do in IDPA, so it's not good for that. But it really is good for weapons manipulations, for shooting under pressure, for mag changing training, learning your own gun, learning how fast you can shoot, developing your speed, your accuracy. It's good for all those things, and those are the main things when it comes to being ready for whatever happens. There are some mental mind preparations that you need to do besides IDPA to be ready for certain scenarios and things based off what you do, what your skill set is, what environment you're in. There's so many different trainings that you can do that's just as important as those things, but IDPA is a very good way of learning your weapon and learning how to shoot your weapon at speed accurately under pressure and under the watchful eye of many people, which makes a big difference. And you'll kind of learn yourself and where you are as a skill, where your skill sets are as a shooter. So I think it's very good in that regard. I don't hate IDPA. This is just some things I hate about IDPA and the rules. I'm hoping one day they will slowly change some of these things and make them better. And I hope the guys that set up the stages will stop getting kind of silly with it and stop trying to put it toward their advantage because they're setting them up and they're having time to think, well, if I do this, I'll understand what I should be doing. But the people that see this right before they shoot it won't, and I'll get an advantage. I don't think that any stage should be set up that way, where the people setting it up should set it up to their advantage. That's kind of unethical in my opinion. So it shouldn't be done. God bless. Have a great day. And I'll catch y'all later.